Well, welcome to Sports Dock, the University of East London, very close to London City Airport. And it's time for the 2019 British Fencing Championship Finals. 3 finals coming up tonight. And first up, it's the women's epee contest between 2 of the big names here today at Sports Dock. Suzanne Sika, who's recently switched allegiances from Italy, up against Mary Cohen, the reigning champion of these British champs here last year. Our referee for the match, as you may well have heard, is Sarah Stacey. The athletes will be fighting up to 15 hits, as I'm sure most of you know. Whole body is target in epee, and it's the only weapon where both fencers can score a hit at the same time. Referee just testing the weapons to ensure they carry the 750-gram weight. And there's a gauge also in epee to test the travel of the switch on the end of the weapon. Referee has done her job. So now it's time to crown the first British champion of 2019 here in Sports Dock. Just getting inside distance there, Cohen, on your right. Opening up for the pommeler, Sika. I'm Karen Bashir, delighted to bring you this coverage, but even more so, joining me, a very busy man, but an epee expert who I'm sure you all know. John Willis. John, first off, congratulations on running another brilliant day at a British competition. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Here we've got your weapon, your specialist weapon. Last year's champion on the right, up against Sika, who's changed allegiances, as I said to the audience a little bit earlier, from Italy. She's a pommeler, left-handed. What should people be looking out for if they're sort of new to epee?
So she's, when you say pommeler, which means she's got a French grip, a straight grip. She'll hold it slightly further back than at the where the handle meets the guard. She'll hold it further back, gaining a few extra inches of reach. What she'll gain, obviously, is reach, but what she'll lose is some strength in the grip. So Mary, who's got the pistol grip there, will have a much stronger blade. So if the blades get wrapped up together, they hit each other, Mary will probably come out on top. If Mary doesn't find the blade, Sika, with her longer reach, should have an advantage.
Yeah, it's remarkably Mary's 6th British Championship final. She's won 3 of them, including the champion of last year.
Yeah, Miss Consistent is Mary Cohen. She'll find this will be a difficult challenge for her against a slightly younger and I would say slightly faster opponent as well, obviously with that reach advantage.
Well, it's very normal in an epee match to see the athletes just feeling each other out early doors, but actually it's been fairly high scoring here for an epee match, first period. Yeah,
let's get away from the stereotypes here, and let's have a good active aggressive epee match. Sika pushing forward. She's playing with distance here. She's trying to push and pull Mary. She'll push her, close the distance, try and get Mary to attack, then she'll take that big step back and then open up the distance very quickly and then use her extra reach to score normally a hit over the top. Left-hander around the right-hander.
So sort of laying a trap, luring Cohen into thinking she can hit and then just stepping away. And
very much so. And Mary will know exactly what's going on, and it's whether she chooses to play the game and go for it or to be a little bit canny herself.
Well, Cohen on the right's just stepped over the back line. That's a 14-metre piece. If you go outside the confines of it, you gift a hit to your opponent. They fence in 3 3-minute periods here, so we're inside the final minute of the first period with a target score of 15.
I think we'll see a very similar match now. I think the scene's been set. Sika's going to push forward, Mary's going to absorb, and then try and pick her off on the counter-attack.
Mary Cohen fencing at Greater Manchester Fencing Club at the moment, coached by Richard Lloyd-Jones, who is down there in the box to give her some support in the break. Suzanne Sika, well, she's coached in Italy's SS Lazio Scherma. Scherma is the Italian word for fencing, of course. Coached by Elisabetta Castrucci and Tullio Sandatukis. And Mary going in there on a flash attack.
Yeah, there was it didn't really work, and then there's no real plan B there, I'm afraid. It was an all-out. It was like she was going to hit or lose a hit, and she missed with the first one, then tried to turn it round through Preem, but didn't quite work there, and just a little hit underneath there from Sika.
Well, that is a time here for these two athletes. Not much between them at all at the moment. 7 apiece, and we see down at the far side Mary Cohen chatting with Richard Lloyd-Jones. John, what do you think he's going to be saying?
I think it's Sika's setting a trap here. We all know what the trap is. We can see it from up here. Richard will see it, and probably Mary will know it as well. And it's just a case of, are you going to play that game, or are you going to try something different? I imagine she'll try and play the game and let Sika push it, and then she'll launch an attack. And then when Sika opens the distance and goes for the counter-attack, instead of following through, Mary will change her mind and try and take the blade and maybe wrap it up a little bit. So we call that second intention. So you're not intending to hit with the first action, you try and hit with the second. And
here we just see a glimpse of Sika there chatting with her coach as well. Now, interesting situation for her. She's actually got a position in the second Italian National Championships this year, and a 9th place there, and now she's fencing in the British Championships. That must be quite an interesting situation for her.
Well, it's 50-50 split really, isn't it? So it's some fencers, well, athletes in all sports all over the world, you know, you have different parentage, different nationalities you can choose. And Sika's come over from Italy. I know she's going to the European Under-23s later this year for Great Britain. So I think she's pretty much nailed her colours to the British mast now.
And that's really why she had to make the choice at this moment in time. In fact, she made it last year, as one of the assistant referees there just alerts Sarah Stacey to the fact that Sika's spool, a piece of equipment that holds the connecting wire to the scoring box, had slipped over.
Nice long attack there. She lunged and then very, dare I say, Italian. Kind of, it didn't go recover. She kind of followed forward, almost fell forward, and just kind of gained a few extra inches. She was never going to be able to recover. If she missed, she was out of the game, but she carried on, pushed it through, and went over the top and scored a nice hit.
Is that an adjustment made while she's doing the action, or is she playing for that move?
No, I think it's an adjustment. You fail with the first action, you have a choice then. Do you go backwards, or do you go all in? And she went all in. So you see Mary doing lots of little attacks here. These, you know, just little short attacks. It's not a proper lunge, just half going high then low, over the arm, under the arm. Not really launching a big attack.
So just looking for that second intention,
yeah, so
as you said.
That's a nice touch. There we go.
Line,
yeah, very nice. Just drop down, hit her on the toe.
So Sika's adjusted. She saw Cohen playing the trap there, the second intention game. Forced her out with a para riposte and then just ducked down into the low line, but Cohen straight back at her. This is a really high-paced match for Epee for sure. Very exciting.
Yeah, I think no fencers really got on a run, have they? You've like 3 or 4 hits in a row. It's always been one hit here, a couple of hits there. I say actually 11-9, so only 2 hits in it.
But we're starting to get to the stage in the fight where Cohen now really does have to be a little bit more careful on her approach as well, because Sika's so close to that target score of 15. Yeah,
so we sometimes say in Epee, it's like, oh, a double will be okay. You know, keep the other fencer honest. Make sure, you know, you can give away a double, but obviously adding 1 to your opponent's score now when they've got 11 is dangerous. Yeah, and I think that's a prime example there. Mary didn't want to launch the attack and risk the double, so she was holding back, waiting for an action from Sika to pick up on, to take the blade, to wrap it up. The action never came, and Mary found herself in no man's land there, and it was just a simple hit to the left. So actually, trying to be too careful has cost her a hit there.
Trying to work off the blade this time.
Yeah, that was better. Didn't work. Took about 3 goes, but she basically had control of the blade. She wrapped it up. There was blade contact. Mary was pushing the blade away from her target, and it was a good hit.
Tried a little sneaky surprise attack there as well. Missed the first one, and then closed up the distance to try and stop Sika from being able to land her counter.
It's with the point weapons, because you can hit with the point in foil and in epee. You can do a lot like a bit like boxers slipping the point. So once you get inside, you want to try, instead of getting away from your opponent, you want to try and get as close as you can to them to actually stop them hitting you, because their point's past you. So if you keep going forward, their point, they've got to pull their point back. So a lot of epists and foilists, probably more so, will actually, instead of opening the distance again, they will close right up and make it almost impossible for them to be hit.
Well, we're creeping towards 15 for both, and both in double figures, but we're also inside the minute to go inside the second period. Sika doesn't seem to be giving anything up here, still pressing Cohen. Cohen just being a little bit cautious again, and that has opened the door again.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Pick that up. She can't go without the blade, because it's a double every time. So, but by being cautious, she's giving away a single, which is a bit of a shame, really. So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's much better there. A committed attack. She went without the blade. She went straight and true, and she actually scored a single hit for her endeavours. Much better. Yeah,
nice under the wrist there. A bit exposed for a pommeler sometimes, especially the way that Sika's holding her blade. But Sika is just one away from potentially taking her very first British Championship title. Time is going to run out on them in this second period, but Sika in a commanding position. But you have to say, John, if anyone's going to want the break right now, it is going to be Cohen.
Tough one. I don't know who that suits. It's just one of those things. I mean, both of them get a little break now, a little breather. And it's where the coaches do the hard work. So, you know,
yeah, well, unfortunately, we've got a coach between us and Sika here. She's playing a pretty good game here. I mean, Cohen's kept her honest, but really, she's just got to stick in there and not making mistakes, right?
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the left, Sika here, has controlled this fight start to finish. She's either been level pegging or the lead, and she's the one been controlling the distance more importantly. So score's irrelevant. If you just looked on this without you knowing the score, you'd say who's controlling this fight, who's dominating, we're fencing where Sika wants to fence on the piste.
Yeah, but it's this lady here. Cohen has got a bit of a task to do, but it's certainly not done and dusted, is it?
Absolutely not. I mean, next hit's vital. Obviously, if the left gets it, it's a win. If the right gets it, then you start to worry, because it's like, oh, I've got a 2-hit cushion. I've got a 1-hit cushion. I'm level. You know, so. And
that's what it's all about. So here we go, the final period of the women's epee gold medal at the British Championships 2019. Suzanne Sika on the left, leading 14-12 against Mary Cohen. Oh, Cohen steps in, hesitates, opens the door again. And there you go. Suzanne Sika is the 2019 Women's Epee British Champion. John, that was a really, really good fight. Really good fencing from both fencers and slightly different tactics.
Absolutely. Not typically what we associate with an epee fight, but I think Sika did a lot there to actually say, I'm going to go out and win this. And she didn't wait. She didn't wait for a mistake. She went out and created hits. And she gave away 12, but she scored 15. It was really confident, really constructive epee fencing.
Yeah, really entertaining stuff. And we have our women's epee champion of 2019. It is Suzanne Sika. We've got about 5 minutes before our next gold medal match, so go and put on a brew and join us for that in about 5 minutes. Well, welcome back to Sports Doc UEL for the men's foil final here at the 2019 British Championships. And we've got a brilliant matchup here, two big names in British fencing. James Andrew Davis on the left up against Ben Peggs. And I'm welcoming into the box an expert referee foilist. Well, you referee other weapons as well, but it's Chris Lennon. Chris, what a matchup this is.
Yeah, I mean, it's two fantastic athletes here. You've got James Davis, who's very well known in British fencing. He competed in both the 2012 and the 2016 Olympics, and he's our first ever European champion. And on the right, you've got Ben Peggs, who's one of the upcoming foilists, and he's gotten multiple second days, last 64s in the last season, and he's been really looking to break into that strong position in the team. So having these two guys against each other here is really the top of British fencing at the moment. Yeah,
been a really interesting day as well. It's been very competitive, the men's foil field. But here we go. It's the start of the gold medal match here at the British Championships of 2019. And it's a men's foil feast to behold. Ben Peggs on the right. He was part of the British team that won the European Games Team Gold, inaugural European Games in Baku a couple of years back, and that was a phenomenal performance against Italy.
Yeah, that's right. In the final against Italy, that was a team with, I think, himself and also, was it Tofolides at the time, who's no longer on the British squad, and James I think, and Richard, who's
Richard Cruz as well. He's got a minor injury, Richard. He's been refereeing today, doing his bit for the sport, unable to fence, but reliably informs me that he will be back on the piste in St. Petersburg at the next World Cup, as indeed will both of these two fencers.
Brilliant, yeah, because they've been getting some great results on the team. Good first hit from Ben. These and Ben's sense of this hit all day, whenever there's stops, whenever there's gaps in the attack, has been brilliant. He's been really strong in these kind of hits. So I'd be hoping in this match he's going to play more actions in the middle and after the stops, because that's where he's been really showing his strength. I mean, James is a very big physical guy. You can see it, I'm sure, like the size difference and the difference in reach, the difference in strength, and it really comes through having fenced him. Like if he hits that blade, you know about it.
Yeah, he's saying that he's in the middle of well, in fact, both of them are going to be in the middle of a very heavy training period as we enter the Olympic qualifying period. The next competition for them is the start of qualification for Tokyo 2020. And of course, Davis fences out of the M Foundation in San Francisco. Also fences domestically under Zhemek Wojciechowski's club at ZWF. And it's Greg Macialis and Dean Hinton who have the sort of day-to-day role of coaching him. Whereas Ben, based in London, at Fencers Club London, in fact, one of the newest clubs that have really risen dramatically, especially in foil, over the past few years. And it's Ben who's coached by Graham Forster and Paweł Osmanski, a former Polish international.
Yeah, I mean, Paweł was in the top 10 in the world. He's a big name in British fencing, but Graham's also produced a lot of top fencers, and he's been working with Ben for a long time. And I think that combination of experience from both really high-level coaches has really helped improve his game. So Ben looking for these middle hits again. James has been pretty sharp here so far. And to be honest, like, I think the quicker hits with less movement tend to benefit James more. I'd like to see Ben, if he wants to take control of the match, be moving James around a lot more, because he's going to be a lot stronger on the change of direction. He's got slightly lower on guard. He moves a little bit quicker with the smaller steps. So he definitely wants to exploit James's momentum when he's doing the longer attacks.
Yeah, but you do like these. I mean, you sort of hinted right. If you're sort of completely new to the sport, there's sort of two phases to Ben's actions here. If the first one fails, he's very quick at closing that distance, isn't he?
Yeah, indeed, yeah. And the speed he gets in that, and also he's quite good. If you notice, when he finishes his attack, he does a very good job of positioning his blade, positioning his arm, his head, in a way to make it as hard as possible for his opponent to hit, even if he is caught in a bad position. But James, so far, has been doing a pretty good job of managing to get his point on.
Again, second part of the action there from Ben Peggs. He failed on his attack, but got a counter riposte in just on the shoulder. Target area and foil, of course, the torso, including the bib of the mask.
So at this point, on Ben's first attack, James stepped off the side of the piece. It was only very slight, and so the referee calls halt for that action. Ben's next one where he got the point was after the action, and that's why she's not given the point in this situation.
Referee from France.
Yes, Florence Ducam.
Took the words right out of my mouth there, Chris.
Sorry, Karen.
No, quite all right. And now we're seeing a little bit more of movement from Peggsy, as he's known on the circuit, and immediately we see the trademark counter or stop hit attempt from Davis. This time he just launches an attack off the line. Really nothing in this at the moment, and no one's really showing too much of their tactics, even though we've had the best part of 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, I agree totally. They've moved each other around a little bit, but we haven't really seen either of them show a significant way they want to win the match. They've tried a lot of different actions, but nothing really opening each other up too heavily so far.
And it's an interesting one with James now not training all the time with the British camp, which Ben is much more used to. They will have trained a lot together. They know what each other's doing, but of course then James disappears for a while, perhaps goes and works on something else and comes back. It's perhaps a bit more tricky for the guys at home that are training together to know what to do against him.
Definitely.
Compared to the other members of the team.
Of course, definitely. Although you could say the same in Ben's benefit against James. He hasn't trained with Ben, and he doesn't know what he's been doing. I will say Ben Peggs in his semi-final was against Jai Birch, a young fencer who's got some relatively unconventional actions, which are very, very good, and he took out a lot of strong fencers today who felt like they struggled to deal with some of the stuff they'd never really seen before. I know one of the fencers who fenced him literally said, "I'd never fenced anyone like that before," and whereas Peggs was much more ready for him, I felt, despite having a very, very close match, 15-13 to get through.
Well, calling that a power riposte to the right, and Davis, as you can see, not happy about that at all.
These are always controversial actions when both fencers hit the blade at the same time, but one going for a beat, one going for a parry. They both want it to be theirs, and there's a general refereeing convention that when there's one contact, it's given as the beat attack. But the reality is a little more complex. It's also about who's controlling the action, who's controlled the distance. If you've fallen short and then you try and turn your attack into a cheeky beat at the very end, it's not really a good action. In this action, I agree with the referee. Ben took a very strong parry, made a very good riposte, got the hit.
So yes, even though the convention on paper suggests that the attacker gets it, the stronger beat indeed won the day, and I agree with you. And I think that is, it's more easy for the spectators to understand as well. Just because someone's coming forwards in foil, because it's a weapon of convention, as they say.
Yes, of course.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you have the right of way.
So Ben failing to find the target on the last two actions. He was trying for a slightly shorter distance, trying to finish a bit closer, and again, coming crashing into James without being able to get his point on target. And it seems to me that he feels he can't finish from quite as far away, but it's not quite working out for him on those last two.
Well, inside 3 seconds to go. I'm going to get to the break, and this with no additional score, and it's Davis who's leading this one 6-5, but it's incredibly slender, Chris. So Davis obviously doesn't have his coach with him. That's his father there. And then what can his dad do? I mean, he's had a lot of experience Peace side, of course.
Yeah, well, his dad's, apart from being James's physiotherapist and knowing him for so many years, he's seen a lot of fencing. So I'm sure more than anything, James knows enough about fencing. He's an incredibly experienced athlete. I think what his dad can do is help calm his mind, help him with getting into the right mindset to be able to think his way through this match. But I think the end of the period there, it looked to me like James was starting to find a better way to fence, definitely a better distance. So I think it's up to Ben now to readjust and try and find a strong position.
Down at the other end, talk about a calm mind. Graham Forster's always got a very relaxed approach in the box. He sticks to what he wants to do, get some instructions across very clearly. What do you think he's going to be saying to Ben?
For Graham, I think he'd probably be telling Ben that the close distance isn't the way to go. I imagine he'd be wanting him to disrupt a little bit more when James is building his attack, especially when James is doing his slow press where he accelerates, because that attack, it hasn't come up a lot of times this match, but when it does, it's very, very dangerous. And I think if James wanted to seize control of it for like a few hits, that would be where he goes to. Well known on the circuit for his flash flick to chest, which has been seen a lot of times.
Yeah, good point. So here we go, second period of the men's foil gold medal match of the British Championships 2019 here at Sports Dock at the University of London. And the two have gone at each other in the middle at the start of this, both having a little conversation. The Blades obviously trying to get the last beat there, going to James Andrew Davis, leading 7-5. And already we can feel the intensity of this has just gone up a little bit. Yeah,
definitely. I think they both have a bit of a clearer idea what each is going to do, and they probably now have some good ideas how they want to take the hits in the match. James, for me, is definitely looking like he's more willing to attack. He's not being quite so cautious.
I think the referee's right here. He tries to look for the blade at the beginning of that. Would you agree?
For me personally, I didn't think James was looking for the blade. I thought he got his hand out slightly earlier, but it's a very, very close action. And Florence is definitely in the best position to see, far more than us back here.
And that's the interesting thing, isn't it, when you have two experts at wielding their weapons standing on the piece, in the top 5 in Great Britain, an excellent international referee, and yourself obviously an international referee, all having slightly different opinions about a right-of-way action.
Yeah, of course. Well, when they're fencing at this level, they're pushing the margins of these actions right to the limit, and they're looking for the slightest advantage which they can get to try and gain the hits, which is why quite often at international level they use video replay to pass some of the closer actions.
Yeah, good point. The video replay is probably the biggest single addition to the sport over the past 2 decades. I would say that not only does it give the fencers an opportunity to politely appeal for a challenge or a call they don't agree with, but it gives the referees a chance to go and have a look at something if they're not quite sure about the call.
Definitely, and along with introducing all these cameras and introducing streaming to most international fencing has just expanded the sport so much. People can see high-level fencing, and referees can increase their consistency with ease that never existed before.
Yeah, and when you're refereeing all day, I mean, it must be pretty tough just to hold that concentration all the time, especially if you're having to switch between disciplines, even if it's both foil men and women. They're fenced at slightly different paces, slightly different speeds.
Certainly, like, if anything, I find doing men's foil, men's sabre, for example, a relatively easy switch. The games are quite similar with slightly different timings, whereas the change from men's foil to women's foil can be quite tricky. They're very, very different games.
Well, as you predicted, Chris, it's James that just ever so slightly edging this one. Still very, very tight, though. And but both of them clearly still really going for this. Target score, to remind you all, is 15. Blade met there from Davis, gets the right of way on a parry or a post, and he's into double figures.
Yeah, James switching back to being a little more cautious on his preparation, drawing out that counter-attack from Pegs and then dealing with it.
And Pegsy going back to looking for those attacks into preparation.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good decision, changing the game a little bit. Certainly, Ben seems to be wanting to keep it very, very tight. The moment James starts any kind of attack, he's jumping right on top of him straight away. He's decided he wants to fight this fight up close. And once again. So the referee here is saying that there was only one blade contact. So like we were saying about the convention earlier, she's saying that it's a beat attack from the left.
You're quite right. Obviously you're right, but Ben Peggs agrees with you. He's asking the referee, are you only saying there's one beat there? Because he's realised she hasn't seen what he's seen, or he just wants to make sure he understands what she's calling so he doesn't make the same mistake again.
Yeah.
But the long and short of it is 11-6 to James Davis, only for Ben Peggs to change his approach again and come out on the attack. Compound attack finishing to chest. Often you see that with a lefty and righty, a flick across the body and trying to go around a cart parry.
Yeah, it's one of the things with the right-hander, left-hander matchup that the the direct attack isn't quite as open as it would be on a same-handed matchup. So flicks can be one way to open it. You see a lot of actions to the flank and to the near shoulder as a result. And one of the reasons this matchup tends to involve more counter-attacking is partially because naturally, due to the way that the arms are positioned, the body is positioned, the distance tends to be closer, and fencers tend to attack from a lot closer, looking for that near target and finish a lot more aggressively. And certainly most fencers, right-handers especially, who've grown up fencing competitions will have at some point dreaded coming across the left-hander in their pool. But at this level, they're very, very experienced, and it's not so much of a concern.
And a lot of coaches would try and dispel the myth that there shouldn't be any difference against fencing against a left-hander. But as you suggesting, it's not just the distance that's close. The target is physically close to if you stand at the same distance. If your feet are where they would be against a right-hander, and you put a left-hander in their place, immediately their chest is much closer to you. Oh, trying to find the blade there, but misses Pegs, and a little cheeky counter from James Davis, and he's within 3 of the British title of 2019. Did he skip off the piece there?
Maybe for a second. I think he got away with it.
There is still a dispute going on. This time it's Davis who feels he found the blade. Referee's given that as off target. Closing counter.
And I think a little bit of frustration from James there. Like, there wasn't as much care to his attack. Definitely a little bit of rushing. And Ben today, at least one fight, in the last 8, he was 13-7 down at one point, coming back to tie up 14-14 and then win in the priority minutes. So no matter what the scoreline, he's definitely not out of it, as he's proven. But a very, very strong riposte from Davis there.
A very nice hit from Davis, 1 away from the 2019 British title. James Davis goes for a simple one. It was his right of way, but he missed. Davis going for it again. This time Pegs has opened up distance, finds the blade on the back line. And perhaps he's opening up the target now and opening up the distance now to just do something different. Oh, but the final action is from James Andrew Davis from M Foundation, based in San Francisco, but he is the 2019 British champion in men's foil. Well, an interesting one, Chris, that one. I think Pegsy might have changed his mind at the end and started to try and open up distance, and perhaps if he'd done that a little earlier, may have given himself a bit of a better chance to close the gap.
I think the big definition as well was just the amount of control that James showed. Like, for most of the fight, bar a few moments, he wasn't rushing. He was careful with his actions. Even his very last hit, he pushes James to the back, looking for some kind of second intention hit, very willing to give the attack away from a slightly wide distance. And yeah, he showed a lot of control. But no, great match. These guys are both great athletes and good friends. You saw the hug there at the end. And delightful for James, who's never won this championship. His first British championship, one of our best fencers, right?
Brilliant stuff. Well, Chris Lennon, thank you very much for your time. We're going to have another change of pace here. Don't go too far, because next up is the women's Sabre gold medal match.
Thank you, Karen.
Well, welcome back to Sports Doc at the University of East London and the third gold medal match of the first day of the British Fencing Championships 2019. And we've decided to pump up the volume because it's a women's sabre. On your left, Caitlin Maxwell, the 19-year-old from Truro Fencing Club, coached by John Southfield, up against her teammate, Maria Charch, who is 20 years old. And it's Mike Sullig to referee. And joining me in the commentary box, I'm very pleased to say, it's 3 times British Olympic fencer James Williams. James, what a matchup between two teammates this is.
That's right, Cam. This will be one of those very interesting times. They know each other, these two athletes. Caitlin and Maria have trained together down in Truro for a long, long time. I mean, Maria at the moment is out in Columbia University on a scholarship, so we'll see whether that bit of distance gives her any bit of insight into how to beat Caitlin.
Yeah, well, early start for Chart, 1-0 up, and it's an amazing program, the American collegiate program, isn't it? And it's now starting to benefit not just fencers from America or North America. Fencers from all over the world now are pitching for those scholarships. Most
definitely, and as near as I can understand, the whole thing around American sport, and that's a nice power post there by Caitlin, is that they strive for excellence. So we know about the collegiate system over there. Fencing is one of their premier sports. Eli Dershowitz, at the moment a US fencer, is currently number 3 in the world, but he is blowing people away at all levels, and a nice counter post there by Maxwell. So we will see. Don't know whether the American experience is going to help me in this particular bout, but definitely
an interesting one. I mean, I know Caitlin Maxwell on the left is a year younger, but she has spent some time away training in Budapest, but she is a one-club fencer. She's been with John Southfield right from the very start, and John, quite rightly, is very proud of her, the dedication she puts into it. But when I speak to coaches around the world, they say she's the real deal. She has got everything that's required.
Well, listen, she's a class act. I was out with her in the recent junior and cadet European Championships in Italy, in Foggia, where she took that bronze, and I was standing there with John, and we knew, you know, she could have gone all the way to the final. It was very, very close in that last match, but she is a class act. Nobody wants to fence her on the world scene. She's made 3 tableau finals, that is, top 3 finishes this season already, and we think that given the time, I mean, look, she's 8-2 up now, you can see what's happening. Given the time that she's had, the time that she's got left, she will be, without doubt, one of the premier fencers in the world.
Well, 8-2 is when we get a break in sabre, when the first fencer gets to 8 points. And the thing about Caitlin Maxwell is that she has shown the variety that she's been showing for the past couple of years now, and a little bit more consistency of changing what she's doing and controlling where the fight's taking place. And despite the fight taking place mainly in her half of the piece, she's luring Chart into making the action that she wants her to act off.
Well, the whole thing around her game, we like to say in sabre, in any event, she's a tempo fencer. She likes to find your rhythm, and when she does, if she can get it, then she will start exploding hits all over you, and particularly in the middle. She's very strong at being able to wait until that last minute where you commit yourself to the attack, and then ultimately she'll either make you miss, she'll parry you, or hit you on the preparation. So this is quite at a crucial point now in this match. If Maria Chart's going to do anything, she has to do it now, because otherwise, I'll tell you, Caitlin will put her foot down, she'll put pedal to the metal, and she'll accelerate to that 50.
Second period of the women's sabre gold medal match at the British Fencing Championships 2019 underway, and Maxwell straight out of the blocks. But she did take a couple of exploration steps there. She didn't really go for it right off the line.
Well, that's her with the preparation. If you look at that counter post, that was a fantastic touch there. She's preparing. So when I say that she's a tempo fencer, she finds her rhythm, but she's looking for you to commit. So if you commit early, she'll make you miss. If you go with your hand, she'll parry you. If you hold and run away, she did what she did in the hit before that one, which will take her time, work off the preparation, and then she'll accelerate through. And you see there, that time Chart found tempo should she hit Maxwell on the preparation, because Maxwell was hoping that she'd run away and Chart didn't. So that was a good tactical thing there from Maria.
So Maria Chart, of course, a knee defensor with the coach in the box to talk to at the break. 8-2 down would have been the one that really wanted John Southfield on her side. But she scored a couple of hits in a row here.
Well, that was again a very nice action. So she stepped forward into distance, took a parry. So that's a counter-time action. Her opponent, in that case, Maxwell, tried to do a counter-attack and then she found it. But again, now she should really try and keep the pressure on, because otherwise it's difficult in Sabre. Maxwell only needs 4 touches. That's what she needs to do, Maria Chart. She waited.
Hit before she stepped into the middle, stopped, got into 2 lines maybe.
That's right. And that time she committed herself to that action. That's what she needs to do.
And again, stepping in there unconvincingly from Chart. I think she's not 100% sure what to do, and that's probably down to what Maxwell's doing off the line.
Well, it's as I said, every time she tries one, you go there again. There was a nice counter riposte from Maxwell.
Very instinctive, that counter riposte, isn't it?
Well, it takes, I'll take some courage. I was going to say another word there, but that's a lovely riposte there from Caitlin Maxwell there. It takes some courage, but it's because she knows she's feeling it. She's just top of the range now. Look at this goal.
One away from gold, but Chart's not had enough.
If I was a betting man, I would suggest the next action will be a para post from, she went for it. Maxwell with a counter-attack. Maxwell takes that gold medal.
So Maxwell is the 2019 Women's Sabre British champion, and a hug there from her teammate, who, quite frankly, she took apart in the first period. And as you suggested, James, she just didn't give up on the second period at all.
Yeah. I think that for any young fencers or any athlete of any sort of discipline watching, you've just seen a very professional performance. There was no quarter given, none asked for, to be fair, but when she fought. She beat an early athlete, another athlete of mine actually, 15-1 in the round just before this one. So you can definitely see with Maria, she's got the mentality. She knows what she needs to do. That's Maria Chart, but she was not given a chance there. Caitlin Maxwell is the real deal. She definitely is one for us to watch. I'm not going to put any kind of pressure on her, because we don't need to, because she puts enough pressure on herself. She is very, very clear about what she does, how she does it. She's systematic and she's persistent. So when she's been out and lost, I've taken the team away a couple of times this season. She's had some good performances. When those performances haven't been in her mind as good as she wants to be, she's gone back to the drawing board, worked with John, and then come back out and done the business. So very, very classy act. Definitely a British champion today, and well deserved.
James Williams, thank you very much indeed. That's James Williams, 3 times British men's Sabre Olympian, and who would know who to look out for in terms of the real deal? It is Caitlin Maxwell, who will be crowned a little bit later on here at Sports Doc. But that's it from us. But it's only day 1. Come back tomorrow for the other 3 gold medal matches. We're due on around about 4 o'clock, but do keep an eye on the channel, because we could be coming on just a little bit earlier if we go ahead of schedule as we did. Thanks very much for joining us. We will see you tomorrow.